What if your doctor didn't want to heal you but to hurt you? What if your pain was part of an experiment, one you never signed up for? Welcome to the world of human experimentation, where science abandoned morality, and the test subjects were living, breathing people. These aren't sci-fi horror plots. These are real stories, dark, cruel, and deeply disturbing. 1. Unit 731, Japan's Factory of Death. During World War II, Japan operated one of the most horrific secret facilities in history, Unit 731. Located in occupied China, this military unit didn't just experiment on prisoners. It tortured them under the guise of science. Victims were subjected to frostbite tests, their limbs frozen and then smashed. Others were dissected alive without anesthesia. Some were infected with plague, cholera, and anthrax to study their effects. These experiments killed thousands, but after the war, many Unit 731 scientists were granted immunity by the US in exchange for their research. 2. The Tuskegee syphilis study lies in the name of science. In 1932, the US Public Health Service began studying the effects of untreated syphilis in African American men in Alabama. What the participants didn't know, they weren't being treated at all. Even when penicillin became the standard cure in the 1940s, doctors withheld it. Hundreds suffered and died while researchers watched in secret for over 40 years. It wasn't until 1972 that the horror was exposed. The fallout permanently damaged trust between communities of color and the medical establishment. 3. MK-Ultra, the CIA's mind control nightmare. The Cold War wasn't just fought with bombs and spies. The US government launched a top-secret program in the 1950s called MK-Ultra, aiming to develop mind control techniques. The CIA used LSD, hypnosis, sensory deprivation, and psychological torture on unsuspecting civilians, soldiers, and even their own agents. One man, Dr. Frank Olson, died after being secretly dosed with LSD. The program ran for decades, and its full extent remains classified to this day. 4. Nazi human experiments, science in hell. In the concentration camps of Nazi Germany, doctors like Josef Mengele performed unimaginable experiments. Twins were dissected, people were injected with diseases, others were frozen, burned, or subjected to high-altitude simulations without oxygen. These weren't meant to save lives. They were cruel, sadistic, and often fatal. Many of the records were later used by Allied powers, sparking a lasting debate about the ethics of data collected through human suffering. 5. The Guatemala syphilis experiments. In the 1940s, US researchers conducted another syphilis study, this time in Guatemala. They deliberately infected prisoners, sex workers, and mental health patients with STDs without their knowledge or consent. At least 1,300 people were affected, with hundreds left untreated. The study only came to light decades later, and in 2010, the US government formally apologized. But no apology could undo the damage done. 6. The Stanford prison experiment, power corrupts. In 1971, psychologist Philip Zimbardo created a fake prison in Stanford University's basement and assigned volunteer students to roles as guards or prisoners. What happened next shocked the world. Within days, the guards became abusive, and the prisoners broke down emotionally. The experiment, meant to last 2 weeks, was shut down after just 6 days. Though no one died, the study revealed how quickly ordinary people could turn cruel when given unchecked power. 7. The Monster Study, breaking children with words. In 1939, researchers at the University of Iowa conducted a speech experiment on orphaned children. Half were praised for their speech. The other half were bullied, shamed, and told they spoke poorly even if they didn't. The results? Long-term emotional trauma, stuttering, and damaged self-esteem. The children never gave consent, and some never recovered. 8. Project 4.1, Fallout on the Marshall Islands. After detonating a hydrogen bomb in the Marshall Islands in 1954, the US exposed nearby residents to massive radiation levels. But rather than evacuate them quickly, officials turned them into test subjects monitoring the effects of radiation over time. Many suffered from cancers, birth defects, and lifelong health issues. It was called Project 4.1, but to those who lived through it, it was a betrayal. 9. Holmesburg prison experiments. From the 1950s to the 1970s, prisoners at Holmesburg Prison in Philadelphia were paid small amounts to test everything from cosmetics to chemical agents. They were exposed to skin-burning compounds, radioactive isotopes, and dioxins. Most didn't know what was being done to them. For many, the scars, physical and emotional, lasted for life. Conclusion: these weren't accidents. These were decisions calculated, funded, and hidden. In the name of science, progress, or national security, countless people were treated as disposable. Their suffering serves as a reminder of how far people will go when ethics are ignored, and why the phrase "never again" must actually mean something. Because when science forgets its humanity, it becomes something else entirely.